You do you have a you don't have a like the Heart Sutra, right? No, okay. So what I'm thinking, most of you heard about the meditation and four noble truths. So today, now, let me explain about the Heart Sutra. In actually the Heart Sutra is in the what we call the original script in Sanskrit. So this is the original script in Sanskrit, and so then later they translate in Tibetan and Hindi and lots of versions like Chinese, English, and everything. So Heart Sutra, especially in Mahayana Buddhism. So you all know there are two kind of Buddhism. So the two major divide, like Mahayana and Theravada. So Mahayana is mostly like Tibetan and somewhere in China and Mongolia, and these are the Mahayana Buddhism and Zen, and also in the Theravada Buddhism, like Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Indonesia, and Burma. So this and some part in China too, they follow the Theravada Buddhism. But the Jain Buddhism, I'm not sure the Jain Buddhism was in Buddha time or not, but later it's become like a Jain Buddhism, and so I'm not sure about that. But mostly we say like just Mahayana Buddhism and Theravada. So in Mahayana Buddhism, the Heart Sutra is actually this is we call the Pragya Paramita Sutra. Pragya Paramita Sutra means the sutra is talking about the wisdom, and so we call this Heart Sutra because sutra means like teaching. Sutra is also the Sanskrit word for like teaching, and sutra in Tantra we call sutra the teaching of the Buddha's teaching, and Tantra means like a kind of mantras practicing, and so meditation and prayer beads. So this all come in what we call Tantrayana. And in this sutra is not very detailed, just one page, and so this is a very important sutra in Mahayana Buddhism. So like that's why we call this as Heart Sutra. In our body, so heart is one of the most important part in our body. So that's why in Mahayana Buddhism, this sutra is very important in Mahayana Buddhism, because this sutra is kind of heart of the sutras. And in this sutra, actually, if you visit in Bodh Gaya in India, so from Bodh Gaya, if you drive like 1 hour or 2 hours something, I really don't know. There was one cave we call the vulture cave. So in Sanskrit we call it the Girdakute. So there so this is all the teaching by Buddha, and later when the Buddha's what we call enlightenment, like when he passed, when he died, we also call nirvana. So then his nephew, I think Ananda, we call Ananda. So he's all the time with Buddha. So whenever the Buddhas keep teaching, so he's kind of Buddha's assistant, like his helper. And whenever he go Buddha's teaching, he always chant the teaching. So most, you can say all kind of teaching, the Ananda know all kind of teaching. And then later, so this is teaching is about emptiness, what you're talking about, like emptiness and impermanent. And so that's why this is a very, what we call, important sutra in Mahayana Buddhism, the Pragya Paramita Hridaya Sutram. So what we call in this is kind of discuss between monks. We call not ordinary the normal monks, like really who what we call in terms of Sanskrit we call arhata. Arhata means like the monks who don't have any attachment, desire, like close to enlightenment, like really high level monks. So they have discussed about this sutra in the in the vulture cave in Bodh Gaya in Bihar. So it's just so there I think around 500 monks, 500 arhatas, and some bodhisattva. So you may heard this word bodhisattva, like the monks. I mean the people who is always thinking about other. So we call bodhisattva, and also we call. So bodhisattva can be in any form. So they have, if they have what we call Jataka tales, is a kind of story about the Buddha's teaching. So if you read that story, there were so many bodhisattvas, like the enlightened person or the enlightened beings story, how they help people, and not only in human form, like the other animal forms, like and fish and like deer and this kind of forms. They help the other people. So they can enlighten, but when they enlighten, when they become a Buddha, when they become an enlightened state, and then they pray, they want to born again in samsara, born again in this world. So when they born in this world, so they say, so the reason is they want to guide the other peoples, the all. So when they born is this samsara, so you can say they don't have any bad karma, because usually when we talk about how we born in samsara and what is the cause we born in samsara, so we always say like our negative karmas or negative emotions and our bad karmas. So this is the kind of cause who always keeping the cycle of samsara, like death and then age, or death then born and then aging, then death and the born again. So million of years we just cycling on that circle, the circle of samsara. And so these kind of the bodhisattvas, the enlightened person, they pray to born in samsara and guide people to show the way free from suffering, the free from samsara. So in that kind of conversation between is kind of, you can say, discuss between more than 500 monks and the bodhisattvas. They have discussed about what they heard from the Buddha, and then they discuss like this. So first line, like if I just read in Sanskrit, they call evam maya shrutam ekasmin samaye bhagavan rajgire viharti sama. So it means like once upon a time, like once upon a time, the bodhisattva or the Buddha, he he what we call went to the Rajgiri. Rajgiri is the name of the palace where the place where the vulture cave exit. So Rajgiri, and there, and then they said they camped in that place and the vulture cave, and also Mahata Girdkute Parvate. So Girdkute means Gird means vulture in Sanskrit. Kute Parvate. Parvate means mountain or cave. So vulture mountain, you can say vulture mountain or vulture cave. Maheta Bhikshu Sangain. So laws of with laws of monks, means like monks, laws of fully ordinary monks. So also in monks there were some what we call some monks have a very few vows. We call Sharmana, and we call ordinary monk and fully ordinary monk and bodhisattva, and like so this kind of. So Bhikshu Sangha, like the group of the monks, they just getting together on this the vulture mountain, and then Ten Kalu Samayan, and that time, and Bhagwan Gambhira Sambodhim Nam Samadhin Samapana, and that time, so the Buddha, he was on in meditation. The meditation name is Gambhir is this is very deep meditation, like day by day, month by month. Like maybe if you heard like some of monks are really yogi, like the meditator, they can meditate year by year without any food, without anything. Even the physical body is dead, but their mind or their heart are still working. So it's happened like in South India. Is recently when the one monk passed, and when he passed, and he's on in the meditation posture like this, meditating, and while he doing meditating, he just passed, and so he was on the same posture after he passed for 21 days, and so when Dalai Lama and also some of scientists, they experiment, and then they said whenever the people die, so maybe after 2 and 3 days the smell come from the bodies, but until 21 days, so no smell for that body. And when the scientists and the great scientists, they experiment, they said their outer body, like the physical body, is not working, but the heart in very core muscle, is still working somewhere. Yeah. So this kind of so what I'm trying to say, like that's we call a very high level meditation. So your body is died. I mean, your body is not working, but your heart or your mind still is working on that. So that's we call Gambhir, means like a very detailed, very deep meditations. And then so that time in that the mountain or the cave, the vulture cave, and then the bodhisattva, they are on that meditation, the very deep meditation, and then the bodhisattva Aryavalokiteshvara, maybe you heard about like Aryavalokiteshvara, and Arya Avalokiteshvara, the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra you recite so many times, we call Arya Avalokiteshvara in Sanskrit. In Tibetan we call Chandrasik, and English we call Compassion Buddha or Compassion Bodhisattva. So the Compassion Bodhisattva, so it is not the Compassion Buddha, it is talking about the Compassion Bodhisattva, the Arya Avalokiteshvara and Bodhisattva Mahasaya. So he's also visit there, and then they have a discuss about the Pragya Paramita, the perception, what do you call perception of for what do you call the in Sanskrit we call Pragya Paramita, like we call they have a kind of sixth perception. I think it's perception or something like that. Like a wisdom, yeah, wisdom, and then discipline, or like shield, samadhi. So this kind of perception. I really don't know what's the exact one of this. So what I'm trying to say is, then they talk about the Heart Sutra, and then they discuss about this Heart Sutra. About also in our 5 skandhas, in Sanskrit we call skandhas, like form, like our body, what we see, form, and then about sense, sense and feeling, and so our touchability, like we can touch and feel, like this kind of five kind of skandhas. And so what they're talking, so these are kind of all 5 skandhas, the 5 form, maybe I don't know, 5 form is right word. So what, yeah, so what I'm trying to say, like a feeling, sense, and touching, and whatever we see or we feel, and also, so these all, their nature is empty. So they are talking about this. So when they call Swabhav Shunyan, so Swabhav means like a nature. They're all this kind of sense and feeling, everything is there. Shunya means in Sanskrit, to emptiness we call shunya. So it's all emptiness. It is not exit. It is, I mean, when I say it is not exit, it is not mean like we don't have any feeling. It do have a feeling, but if we're trying to find the cause and effect and how it's become, so it's, you cannot find that thing. So that's what we call this is kind of emptiness. So you find zero, you find nothing on this thing. And then so if I'm going very detailed to take us so many times, so I just want to point a main thing. Then they talk. Then they have more discuss about the emptiness, like our sense, our feeling, like our maybe if you read Heart Sutra in English, so they call no eyes, no nose, no hand, no tongue. So this is all talking about the emptiness, and I think I have Heart Sutra in maybe phone. Let me help. Okay. Okay. So vulture peak, the real word is vulture peak. I said vulture cape, so you can say vulture peak, where the discuss had the community of monks, the community of monks and the bodhisattvas. And then they we call 5 aggregates, aggregates, you're right, aggregates. So these all as empty, about all empty of nature, inherent natures. And also the Shariputra, you may know Shariputra, right? So whenever you see the Buddha statue, there were 2 monks, like one left and right, who have the ball and one kind of sticks, and the Shariputra who have white hair. So when you see the Buddha picture or the Buddha statue, on the right side, I think the Shariputra, and the left side is the Mongol Putra. The Shariputra have the red head, or white hair. So, and they also he's also participate that discussion about this. And the main discuss is about the 5 aggregates, right? Aggregates, and then about emptiness, like form. Yeah, the form. What they discuss, like form is empty, and emptiness is form. So they both on the same side. It's kind of mixed together. So this is and emptiness is not other than form, and form is also not other than emptiness. So this is this sutra is very short, but it is not easy to understand, because there was so many thinking on this. If we really study about all the sentence and the words, there was so many meaning or thinking with very details. So likewise, sensations and discriminations, conditions and awareness, everything are empty. Like they give an example, like a form is empty and emptiness of form. And same, the condition is empty and emptiness is the conditions. All these kind of discuss they have in that peak, the vulture peak. So then they also call Shariputra, and they said, I just mentioned, no form, no sensations, no discriminations, no conditions, no awareness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. This is no form, no sound. So this is whatever. So whatever they exit in this phenomena, so you can say these all are empty. So when we say there were no taste, no eyes, no smell, and like no body, so it is not means like we don't have any body. So if we think if we talk about according to our form, so they do exit the body. Like we can say this is my hand, right hand, left hand, and so if we go deeply, okay, this is we call white flower. Okay, we call white flower. So if I go very deeply, like, so which one is the white flower? Where is the white flower? Like this part or that part or this one or this one or this one. So if you go deeply, so you cannot find anything in this flower. But when we pointed, we named it, like this is white flower, this is leaves. So same like we call this is our human body, and we exit that, but it's do exit, we call human body like our upper part and lower part. So okay, so where is this human body? Which one is human body? Our head, or our hand, our eyes, our nose, our leg, stomach. So where is the body? So if we trying to find something, if we go very deeply, so we cannot find anything. So that's why we call emptiness. No nose and no eyes, no hand. Same like nose. So which part is nose? The right part or left part, upper part? So where is this thing? So this is if you're trying to find, so you cannot find anything. That's what we call emptiness. But it is not mean it is not exit. It's do exit. So this is the main what we call, they discuss about the emptiness. That's why we call that's why we call this is Heart Sutra, and also the sutra who's teaching or who's talking about emptiness and impermanence and Four Noble Truths, and later they have a more discuss about here. Like okay, anyway, this is just leave. So like they also talk about four noble truths. Here they come about the Four Noble Truths, and about our, like I mentioned this morning, our human we have a kind of four kind of suffering: the suffering of birth, the suffering of aging, the suffering of illness or disease, or suffering of death. So these all kind of suffering and Four Noble Truths and everything, these all are impermanent. So these all are like a emptiness. If you're trying to find, so you can find anything. So that's why there was no reason to if we talk about anger, anger and hatred. So if the anger and hatred is empty or emptiness, impermanent, so that's what is the reason I should get angry or hatred? So there was no reason. So that's why we it's help to reduce, I think it's the right word, reduce our the negative emotions like attachment, desire, hatred, these things. So if you understand this concept, this what we call the Heart Sutra concept, maybe if you read just one time, you cannot understand. Read again and again and again and again. Read every day and think about this meaning. You always find some new thing in this sutra. So so this Heart Sutra is so that's why this is the Heart Sutra, which is a kind of question also discussed in the worship. What you have to understand or know, the Heart Sutra is this is a discuss about the monks, like the community of more than 500 monks with bodhisattvas, like the high enlightened being, or with other these people conversing about and what they heard from Buddhas and what is the Buddha's teaching. So Buddha, so somewhere Buddha teaching about emptiness, somewhere he's teaching about impermanent, and sometimes he's teaching about what we call, they kind of talking about is exit. They were not. It's not unemptiness. So this is the all kind of people. Different kind of people. They have a different thinking. So if people, they don't understand, they don't have a capability or about the emptiness, or if you talk them to emptiness, so they may not understand these things. So that's why everywhere. So you can read in this in English, or maybe more. You can what do you call, get the more meaning in English. So the Heart Sutra mantra is we call the Heart Sutra mantra is Tadyatha Gate Gate Par Gate Par Sangade Bodhi Soha. So if you cannot able to read this Heart Sutra every day, or in your, or whatever you practice, or you can just read this mantra. Is this mantra represent Heart Sutra? Tadyatha Gate Gate Par Gate Par Sangade Bodhi Soha. So in English, if I just translate in, it's called go beyond, like something that beyond to samsara, or actually they didn't translate any sutras in in here. So that's why in this, oh sorry, this is mantra. So this mantra, so mantra is everywhere is same. Like in Sanskrit is same. Tadyata gade gade paragade parsangade bodhisua. Tibetan same. Tadyata gade gade paragade parsangade bodhisua. In English and other language all same. So mantra cannot change, but you can explain their meaning. Like gade gade, go beyond like the samsara and go beyond this samsara and achieve the enlightenment, like that or you can explain like that. So that's why this Heart Sutra is very important, and they learn in Tibetan Buddhism and also in Mahayana Buddhism. So this is the short one. If you read the long one, there are about so many books. So like monks, they study in a monastery for 25 years and something. So first 6 to, I think some monastery 7 to 10 years they only study about the Pragya Paramitas, about the Pragya Paramita. And then so in philosophy, Buddhism philosophy, so Pragya Paramita is the detailed one. So mostly the monks study in this about Pragya Paramita, and then they are about the discipline or the rule of monks, like this kind of, there were 5 different things. So this is the most, they spend so much time with this this teaching. And so actually we have a like Dharma talk, right? So Dharma talk just I just want to share, like in every religions they talk about in every religions, any kind of religions. So they have their philosophy and their practice. So and how they behave in their practice. So same in Buddhism. So we said so our philosophy is we call the interdependent originations, and the practice or the behavior is non-violence. So when we talk about the non-violence, is not harm to other. Like if you can to help other, so if you cannot, then at least don't hurt others. So this is the main the behavior in Buddhism philosophy. Or so somewhere the religions say like you can harm to your enemy, or I mean if you kill your enemy, that should be okay like that. But in Buddhism behavior or in philosophy, so we also not saying like that. You cannot kill to your enemy, because he is also a human being or maybe a sentient beings. So he have a same feeling, sad, happiness. He also want happiness and everything. So that's why we said all sentient beings be happy and free from suffering. So that's our main prayer in all the time. And the philosophy is depending on the interdependent originations. So when we talk about the interdependent originations, so then automatically we talk about the Four Noble Truths. And I think you all know about the Four Noble Truths, which is the first Buddha teaching after he became a Buddha. So first he was a prince. You all know he was a prince, and then he left his palace and went to jungle and forest to research or find the way for the way go to the which way go to the enlightenment, and which way free from to suffering of age, death, and birth, and this kind of. Then finally he, after 6 years with his hard meditations, before he became a Buddha, in Buddhism also we call the middle way, the central path is very important too. And when he became a Buddha, so first they have a kind of there are 5 other his students, their friend, and then they decide now we have to stop all our foods or drinking, and then maybe we can find our enlightenment. Because that time, what people do, they do a hard meditation, not through mind, only physically. They meditate in water, they meditate in fire, they meditate in jungle, and they just hit there. So they think that these all negative emotions or negative things are depending on our body. So that's why same the Buddha, he went to so many teachers, the Indian teacher, and then they said, you just go and meditate in sun, meditate in fire and water. And then he said, I still didn't find happiness. So he wanted to be happy, he wanted to be free from suffering. So and then he said, the teacher there says, they reply, that is our limit. We don't know how to find our enlightenment and the peace. And then they decide, now we are not going to eat anything, like stop food, fasting all the time, no food, no water. Somewhere they said they just eat a little bit what their body need, but if we see the Buddha picture, he is very sick, very tiny. Then they meditate 6 years for a very, very hard meditation, and even they are not become a Buddha, because when we to become a Buddha, become enlightened, all your negative emotions on your mind, on your thinking, on your this thought, this mind. So that's not in our body. So if how much you give, how much you hurt your body, so it's not you cannot. It's not going to help to you about your negative emotions, like to practice less attachment and everything like that. So that's why after the hard meditation, then Buddha himself finally he realized, oh, the emotions and everything is depending on our mind, on our thinking. So, and then he choose we call the middle way, eat food whatever our body need, like to actually the monks when they talk about the discipline, so they cannot allow dinner, just breakfast and lunch. And after because if we only talk about our body, so one meal a day is enough for your body. We don't need to eat 3 times. So but just we eat for like a test or like everything like that. So maybe you heard about the Syria situation. The kids, they are not eating since 1 month and 2 months, still they're alive, but they just drink water. So what I'm trying to say, like if we just talk about our body, so one meal a day is enough for our body. So that's why I'm talking about the middle way. So you have to just eat a little bit, just whatever you eat, need to your body. That's why monks also allow just breakfast or lunch. So after lunch they don't eat in Buddha time, because after they go and that time they just go outside to house and they begging, like a beggar. They beg of food, and whatever the owner or sponsor just put food in their bowl, they just eat it, and then they go back to their room or whatever they live. They go back to, and dark time they are meditating, they are thinking about their mind and their emotions and these things. But later nowadays this is the time change, and monks they start debating and learning, and just most of monastery they serve dinner, and some of monastery they don't serve dinners. So this is kind of so what I'm trying to say, like if we eat too much food, so we cannot practice. Like then we cannot focus on our main aim. So our main purpose is to become enlightened, become free from this samsara, free from this suffering. So that's the main purpose. So that's why Buddha himself, he chose the middle way. We call middle way means not too much food, not too less food. Just whatever you need to your body, you eat that food, and then practice the middle way. Like practice as much you can practice. Like not hurt or harm your body, because the emotion is not in your body. So this kind of stuff, and then he decided, he realizes everything is on our mind, in our thinking. So then he became a Buddha. And that night he became a Buddha. And then when he became a Buddha, so first he was just a normal person like us, and then he became a Buddha. And then when he became a Buddha, so then he went to the Varanasi, which is Bodh Gaya to Varanasi. Nowadays, if you take a train, it's almost 6 to 7 hours from Varanasi. So in Varanasi, Saranath, the exact name of Saranath, where the Buddha gave first teaching when he became a Buddha. So his first teaching on the Four Noble Truths, which is very important. Or you can say like all Buddhism depend on the Four Noble Truths. You can say like that. Or then then the Buddha himself, he teach first his 5 students. Maybe you see the picture when Buddha gave a teaching. Most of the time, 5 monks who listening the first teaching of the Four Noble Truths. And so this is the history how they teach about the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths, the first one is very simple. The life is suffering. So so there were so many kind of suffering to different form. Like human, I just say 4 kind of suffering, and like animals, or like God, or like other form. So every realm, or you can say realm, every realm have a different kind of suffering. So, but if we talk through to philosophies, we said there were 3 kind of suffering: the suffering of suffering, the suffering of change, and the suffering of the previous suffering. So suffering of suffering is very simple. Maybe all of we know when we have a attack. Kind of head attack, or headache. What do you call headache? Headache, or when someone die. When we go far from something, and when someone of a dear friend they pass. So this kind of all the normal suffering. This is we call suffering of suffering. And then the suffering of change. So loss of us, we don't know what is the suffering of change, or because suffering of change first it seems like it's bring a happiness, it's a source of happiness. But if you more experience that thing, then later it's convert or it's changed to suffering. It's very simple. Like when we feel very cold, we try to find the warm place, or like turn on heat and back to like go to sun and fire. And if we experience this more thing, then again we feel very hot, and then we try to find cold place. So the first experience, the good experience what you have, later is changed to the suffering. That's why we call the suffering of change. And the previous suffering, like our body. So we take care of our body too much, and it's also the source of suffering, and that's why you call our body and like one life to next life, like previous life to current life, and then current life to future life. All this kind of the chain is going. This all bring also suffering. So that's why we call the previous suffering. Now, question is where they come from. I mean, where the suffering comes. What is the cause or what is the source, and how we stop this suffering. And then the second noble truth we call the cause of suffering. So, cause of suffering I already mentioned, our negative karma, like our bad karma. So if we go in more detail, so there were so many bad karma, like killing someone and lie, or this kind of so many, more than 10 like that. And if you talk about the emotions, we said there were three main poisons, like attachment and ignorance and hatred. Yeah, aversions. So these three are the main cause, which they all bring the suffering of us. So that's what we call the cause of suffering. So these are the cause of suffering or the source of suffering. So if we stop the cause and the source, then we become enlightened. We call the third noble truth, the end of suffering, or the cessation of suffering. So now question is how we become enlightened, how we become a Buddha, and how we end the suffering. Then the four noble truth, the path of enlightenment, the noble path of enlightenment, or the eight, somewhere we call fold noble path. So if we practice a right view, a right speech, right thinking, or right practice, right living, so they have a kind of eight thinking. So when we say like right view, so right view means like your view should be alright, or like our view should be right, to understand, or okay, this is a negative thing, this is the positive thing, this is the good thing, this is the bad thing. We need to know these things. That's we call the right view. And right speech, not hurt someone like that. And then the right practice. So there were 8. I didn't remember all of this. So finally, this is the four noble truths. This is all depending to each other. So first is suffering, then you understand what is the cause of suffering, then you end the suffering, and then the final how you end the suffering. So the last one is the practice. And then we say the first two was the problem and last two was the solutions. So you can say then we need to find how we solve our problems. So that's the kind of what we call the four noble truths. What we call meaning, kind of meaning, how it should work. But we need to study more. It is what I talk to you about the four noble truths. Actually, it is not enough to understand the four noble truth. So that's why we need to study more. And to study, there are many ways. You can study through books. You can study through your mind. You can study through your teacher. So it's depending on like the individual people's situation, how they study. And so that's I wanted to say. And then if we study, then we can be enlightened or become a better person, because we said every, not only human, all sentient beings have a Buddha nature. So when we said the Buddha nature, Buddha means not like the Buddhism Buddha. Buddha means to understand the reality, to know the reality, what is the reality thing. So Buddha nature is, so everybody have a Buddha nature. It's just covered by our negative emotions. Same like the sun, sometimes covered by the black clouds. So only we need to clean this our karma or need bad emotions. So when we clean this thing, then we become a Buddha, we become a enlightened person, or become a better person. So one life is not enough, because past so many previous life we did we collect so many, even we cannot calculate how many bad karmas we did. But now if we keep practice again and again and again and again and again, and then finally because we believe in life, we never say this is our last life, or this is my we don't have that kind of control to end your life on this time, or you said, oh, next time I don't want to born anywhere. so there is keep this how the nature work, life to life. And so there were no doubt about the life, because maybe you all see a news, the young people, the baby, the kids, they just when they start to talk like 3-year-old and 4-year-old, and they said, my previous life was there, but he never been there, because he's just a 3 and 4-year-old, and he said my mother was there, my father's and when people go there, and it's all there. So this is some connection with the previous life and the current life, like that. So that's why we trying to do a dharma practice, because we believe in life. So if you don't believe in life, then we don't need to do dharma. It's just one life and then end. So this is the reason why we're doing collecting a good karma and practicing dharma and these things. So dharma means not only in Buddhism. Dharma means, actually dharma is the Sanskrit word again. So if you talk about the dharma, so dharma is a kind of around 10 different meanings. So one what we call the main meaning is the reality, like every things or phenomena, they have their own dharma, so on nature, on reality. And then when we talk about the dharma, it means like to do good deeds, like good karma and a good action, or change our negative mind to positive, change our negative emotions to positive. So this is the practice how we need to do. Continue. So I think that's it. So if you have any questions, or I don't know what should I
Can you chant the Heart Sutra?
You can do.
Can you chant by name?
He doesn't read Hindi, so this is in the Sanskrit. So you want to chant in Tibetan or Sanskrit? So the origin sutra is the Sanskrit, so I want to read in Sanskrit, because if you don't understand the meaning, but you heard the what we call the Heart Sutra, it may good karma for you. Because at the early time, some of the monks, when they memorize the teaching, they memorizing very loudly. So what they sing, like when they speak or teaching very loudly with the dharma teaching, and other sentient beings like animals and birds, whatever they heard, they don't have any what we call intents to heard that, but even they heard that things, it's they what we call they collect some good karma, because whenever we're doing some action or karma, we are doing it from 3 ways: from our body, our mind, and our speech. So whenever you heard, so that karma is through your body. So whenever you talk, like when you say Om Mani Padme Hum, so this kind of karma is through your speech. And when you go like a prostrate, like the long prostrate, so that's through your body. And also when you thinking about that, like compassion mantra, that is through your mind. So like the positive karma or the negative karma, we can collect or we can do from three ways: body, speech, and mind. So when I chant or you listen, so that good karma is from your body when you listening that things. Pragya paramita irde sutram nama sarvajaya evam maya shurtam ekasmi samaye Bhagavan Rajgire Viharati Samaha Girdakote Parvate Mahata Bhikchu Sangena Sardam Mahata Cha Bodhisattvena Tena Khalu Samayen Bhagavan Gambhira Sambodham Nama Samadhim Samapana Tencha Samayen Aryavalokitesharo Bodhisattva Mahasattva Gambhirayam Pragyaparamithayam Charyam Charamana Evam Yavalokayati Samaha Panchaskandam Tamsha Sabhaushunyan Vyavalokayati Atha Ishman Shariputro Buddhanubhavin Aryavalokite Sharam Bodhisattva Mitadvochat Ya Kaschit Kulputro Va Kulduhita Va Asyam Gambhirayam Pragyaparamithayam Charyam Charturkamha Katham Shikchatavya Evam Mukto Aryavalokitesharo Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aishmantam Shariputra Metadvochat Ya Kachi Chariputra Kulputro Va Kulduhita Va Asyam Gambhirayam Pragyaparamithayam Charyam Charturkamaha Tenevam Yavalokayati Vyam Panchaskandam Stamscha Sabhaushunyan Samanupashyati Samaha Rupam Shunyataha Shunyate Brupam Rupana Pirtak Shunyataha Shunyataya Na Pirtak Rupam Evam Vedna Sangya Sanskara Vijnana Nicha Shunyataha Evam Shariputra Sarva Dharma Shunyata Lakshana Nutpana Nirudaha Amala Vimala Anuna Sampurna Tasmatri Shariputraha Shunyatayam Na Rupam Na Vedna Na Sangyaha Na Sanskara Na Vijnanam Na Chakshura Na Shotram Na Garnam Na Jivaha Na Kayo Na Mano Na Rupam Na Shabdo Na Gandho Na Raso Na Saprishtabhyam Na Dharmaha Na Chakshura Dhatur Yavana Na Mano Dhatur Na Mano Vijnana Dhatur Na Vidya Na Vidya Na Chayo Yavana Na Jara Maranam Na Jara Marana Chaya Na Dukkha Samudaya Nirodha Margaha Na Jnanam Na Prapti Na Prapti Tasma Chariputra Praptivena Bodhisattvanam Pragyaparamita Mashritaya Viharati Chittavarna nasti dvatrasto viparyasati kranto nishta nirvana triyada vyavastita sarva buddha pragyaparamita mashritaya anutaram samyak sambodhi mabhi sambuddha Tasma gyatavya pragyaparamita mantraha Mahavidya mantraha Anutara mantraha Asamasama mantraha Sarva dukha prashamana mantraha Satyam mityadvad pragyaparamita mantraha Tadyatha gade gade par sangade bodhi soha Tadyatha gade gade par sangade bodhi soha Tadyatha gade gade par sangade bodhi soha Evam Shariputraha Gambirayam Pragyaparamitaayam Charyam Shikshetavyam Bodhisattvena Atha Khalu Bhagavan Tasma Samadhi Vyavothai Arya Avalokideshwarasya Bodhisattvasya Sadhu Karamadat Sadhu sadhu kulputraha evam metad kulputraha evam metad gambirayam pragyaparamitaayam charyam chartavyam yatha tvaya nirdishtam anumodyate tatha gate arhadvi idam mochat bhagavan Anand mana Aishman Shariputraha Arya Avalokideshwarascha Bodhisattva Sacha Sarvabhati Parishad Sadeva Manushya Sura Gandharvascha Loko Bhagavato Bhashitamabhyanandan Iti Pragyaparamita Hirdes Sutram Samaptam Nirvikalpe Niralambe Nirvadye Niranjane Nitya Nitye Nirvikare Parge Devi Namostute Parge Devi Namostute Parge Devi Namostute Thank you. Did you Done? Okay. So closing prayer. Jabulabo Jidra Jimba Dangunda Samba Diyan Dishinde Deda Gunje Jizondalo Gewa Deda Dumje Rabdo Gare Rabi Gorbe Shingam De Penda Deva Mali Jabi Chereze Wande Zenjazo Ijabe Zede Bardo Denjiro Je Chanjo Sunjo Rimbo Je Maje Panamachijo Jewa Nyamba Mebra Yang Kone Kando Pebra Shu Jize Namka Neba Dandowa Jizin Dane Nejo Ne Dove Dunga Sev Shu Sinje Neba Jineba Nirdo Nile Tajra Chi Dove Nene Male Tado Jungwa Mebra Shu Chaza Wadan Chujan Sheba Dan Jizo Yera Gazan Sowa Gewa junsen da ye jisa ba damje zobe chan Chembro ngon dodo shinji dizon da dewe tsuni la teni jawa lobsang chapa Tembo yiri mo jiru ji. Thank you very much for everyone.
I'm gonna help us put the chairs away for you,